Well, hello everyone. Happy Friday. I think the audio is coming through okay, so just let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay. I'm guessing you can see me and all of my mess. And we're not going to talk about that because I'm still not fully unpacked from QuiltCon, but maybe by the end of the weekend I will be. Hello, hello, hello. I see Ann Daly is in the chat. Deb Thill is here. Hello, Deb. Hello, Kim. Auntie Handmaid is here. She says, Happy Friday evening. We had so much fun at QuiltCon. We sure did. Diana is watching from Bermuda. Shelby says the audio is great. Awesome. I will tell you guys, Grace says she can see and hear okay. Wonderful. I will tell you guys, I am a bit tired tonight because I think all of the festivities of QuiltCon and traveling and then coming back late Monday night and going straight back to work on Tuesday morning are kind of catching up with me a little bit. So I am definitely a little tired. Susan says, I am back home after a great 2 weeks in Arizona. Awesome. Math Geek says she is not unpacked either, but QuiltCon was awesome. And it looks like somebody sent a message, and I want to see what that message was. It was from Kathy Has Faith. Thank you for making my quilting journey fun, Becca and my other quilting friends. You are so welcome. Thank you for being a part of this community. How do I get back to, oh, there we go. Oh, so people are already putting out in the chat, saw Ian has the vid, hope you both are okay. So I guess he's gone public with it. I don't really poke around on Facebook very much. If I go on Facebook, it's just to go into the groups that I'm a part of, but I don't really pay attention to my profile. In fact, I went through a few months ago and unfriended everybody because it wasn't serving my mental health to be on Facebook. So, but yeah, I knew he had it. I just didn't know that he was public about it. So for those of you that don't know, Ian does have the dreaded word. He started not feeling great, I would say probably the day we traveled back. And um, he thought it was just cold until today when the test said, nope, no, it's not. So he's on the mend. He did see his doctor. He did get medication, all of that stuff. I don't know if he will realistically be able to do his live stream on Sunday. It's really going to depend on how he's feeling. I would not be surprised if he needs to cancel it and just push it off to an evening later this week when he's feeling a bit better. So just play it by ear, see how Sunday rolls out for him. He really needs to take some time to be, oh, he put it on Instagram. Thank you, Jonathan. He really needs to just take some time to be resting and getting over this. So I am feeling okay. I'm just tired a bit. And so far, no symptoms other than maybe just being tired. So knock on wood, he keeps those germs to himself. I did stop by yesterday with a, what do they call it, a medicine ball from Starbucks because he was complaining that his throat hurt a bit. So I stopped by and gave that to him. But I am not convinced that I have escaped this dreaded illness because everybody that we are traveling with and hanging out with has come down with some form of illness. So we'll just wait a few more days and see how things play out. Buffy says, good evening. I spent the day cutting pieces for a quilt and now I'm too tired to sew. Feel better, Ian. Valentina says, it was so nice to meet you in person at QuiltCon. Yes, it was great. I met so many of you. I gave out so many stickers. And when I came home, there was a ridiculous pile of self-addressed stamped envelopes in my P.O. box waiting for me to return stickers. So I did just drop those in the mail today. So if you had sent one about a week or so ago, I got yours, I sent it back out, and if you still want one, I have plenty left to give. So when I got to QuiltCon, I realized I didn't want to cut myself short. I wanted to have more of those stickers so that if people wanted them, I could hand them out. And so I ordered a bit more. I got a really good discount price because I ordered them at a high volume and I had a 30% off coupon. And so I've got lots. If you're looking for the stickers that I handed out at QuiltCon this year, I will happily give you all 3 of those star stickers for free. They are vinyl waterproof stickers. All you have to do is drop a self-addressed stamped envelope in the mail to me, and the address is in the description box down below. It is also on every page at the bottom of all of my website, at the bottom of my web page. Sorry, it is on the bottom of every page on my website. So there you go. Just drop one in the mail to me. You don't even have to put a special note or anything in there. You are welcome to put a note if you'd like. You are welcome to put something a little extra in there. There were a few people that did send a little something extra in those envelopes. You know who you are. I did slip a little handwritten thank you note in your packages just to let you know that I got your item, and I thought that was very thoughtful. But all you really have to do is just give me an envelope with a stamp and your address on it, and I'll put my stickers in it and drop it back in the mail to you. So yes, I forgot to send an envelope, so I will send you one. Awesome, Kelly. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Shelly said, oh, good. Looking forward to getting mine. Awesome. I'm glad. Nancy got hers yesterday. Wow, that was quick. Wow. Did I drop some in the mail? Like, I thought I dropped mine all in the mail, like, this afternoon after work. Oh, wait, no. There were some that I mailed before I went to QuiltCon. I was like, doggone, Nancy, how did you get yours yesterday when I mailed it today? No, there was a few that came in right before I left for QuiltCon, so I mailed them before I left. Stickers are on your sewing machines. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so before I begin, I have to open this. I was told I was not allowed to open it until the live stream. It would help if it was right side up. Mary and Ian have given me this really pretty blue envelope. I don't really know what it is, but there is a note on the back. I was waiting to see if Mary was in the chat before I did this because it says from Mary, and I did see she's in there. It says, I was hoping to give this to you for your birthday, but sadly it came in very late and I'm sorry. I hope you still like it. So here's the deal. I was not expecting this. And they really wanted me to open this on a live stream. And I'm guessing it's because Mary was a part of this as well. So, ooh, do you want more of the Werther's chocolate covered caramels? Listen, Carol, yes. If a package shows up with chocolate covered caramels or Werther's green apple hard candies or just Werther candies, I will put 2 sets of stickers in the mail. Up to you. So anyway, he asked me to wait until the live stream was here. So I just want to make sure you got yours at QuiltCon. Yes, you did, Di. I just want to make sure Mary is still here. So Mary, type in the chat that you're here before I open this. Hey, Day. She said, stopping in to say hey. Hello, Day. Hi, Zaza. Silveretta says, hi, Becca. Welcome back from QuiltCon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello, Zaza. Hello, Joy T. Still looking for Mary to let me know she's in the chat. Hello, Laura. It was nice meeting you at QuiltCon, too. Jennifer says, Zyrtec D was a lifesaver when I had COVID a couple of weeks ago. Oh, I bet. Oh, there she is. She's still here. Okay, good. So here we go. We're going to open this up. I have no idea what this is. I'm a little nervous to open something on a live stream like this, but I also know that Mary and Ian wouldn't embarrass me too much. So it is a nice thick envelope. That's pretty. Okay, so it's a box that looks like this, and it says, rip here. And there's confetti inside. I'll just dump that out. Oh, that's awesome. It jumped right out at me. And it's a little cube. It says, happy birthday from your best friends. Love you, Ian and Mary. And then it's just got a cube with different pictures of us. So thank you. And that must have been why he was like, no, you got to open it on the live stream, because he knew it was going to explode. There was more confetti in there even after I shook it all out. That was fun. Okay, so I'm just going to set that over here out of the way, and we're going to get to the project that I'm working on today. I got a mess to clean up. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Oh, man. I am tonight going to be working on a kit that I started at QuiltCon. I took a class for the last the latest. I should say the latest. She said it's the last, but we'll see what happens. I took a class on the latest mini quilt from the Capturing Memories series from Verushka. She is the lady that made the award-winning quilt of the, I think it's called Dignity. This is what the quilt will look like. Actually, it's the FPP map of it. I don't have the, yeah, that's what it looks like. And so I am putting my bits together. I don't know that I'll get it finished tonight, but I'm really excited to see this done. And so that's what I'm going to be working on. I'm just going to be doing the thing, doing the thing, and chatting with you as I get this put together. So I've got Z over here and AA, and I want to join these two pieces together. So if there's any questions that you have in the chat, just go ahead and type them out, and I'll be happy to answer them while I'm sewing. Shelly says, I'm back in business in my sewing room since the flooring project. I might have taken a few loads to Goodwill. Susan says, I was so concerned that I would totally geek out when I met you guys all at QuiltCon. I was pleased to say that I didn't. I'm glad you got to meet us. Jennifer says, that is a mighty fine barrette. Looks good. Isn't that cute? I got a few of these from the Sarah Hart's booth at QuiltCon, and I may have taken a page from Heather from Crimson Tate. I don't need a full-on headband, and I don't need to wear my hair up in a ponytail, but I really don't like my hair flopping down on my face while I'm sewing. And so I decided, why not just put one of these little barrettes in my hair just to kind of pull it a bit out of my face. It's always this side that wants to flop down. So I got one of them. They are really cute, and they're alligator clips, so they stay in really, really nicely. Hello, Donna. Welcome to the live stream. Hello, Mimi's Sewing Station. Bill says, you have done so much, you stink. Bill took this class with me. Bill, I have not done anything since, well, no, we did this one together. This is the road. And we did this together. So those pieces we did in the class. And now I am working on the other piece. So I got this, like these three pieces are so much. I don't think so, William. I don't think so. Hello, Patty. Hey, Pat Strawhouse. Welcome back to the chat. Haven't seen you in a minute. So I know a couple weeks ago, one of the things that we were talking about before we left for QuiltCon is that if most of you already know that I am a federal employee, and I know I've gotten lots of emails from so many of you asking if things are okay with the job front, and just let me know that I'm in your prayers. You're in mine too. And I want to thank you for all of those well wishes and all of those really good, happy thoughts. Right now, everything is okay. I hope it continues to stay that way, but only time is going to tell. Hello, Amy Dement. Irene's Quilting Creations is here from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, Irene. Oh, my mic is cutting out? Mary, can you tell me how my mic is doing? Can you get an audio check from, I guess I should keep talking to see if it's working. I only see the one person saying that the mic is cutting out. If somebody else could let me know if they're having issues with my audio or if it's just one person. Only a little. Okay, so let me try this. Hold on. It's crackling a bit. Okay. All right. Is this better? We'll try and take the lav out of it. Sometimes these lavs don't want to work. It did when I was bent over. It could be the cord. Okay. All right, let's see if this is a little bit better. I will just perch it on my shoulder. Tell me if it's still a bit crackly as I'm working through the project. A little when I bent over to sew. It could have been a cord issue. It could have been a cord issue. Okay, sound is fine. All right, it's all good. Only cut out a tad. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that, but we'll keep it like this for a little bit, and then maybe I'll try to put the cord back in, and we'll see if it's better. All right, this next piece, why don't we go to the 3 camera so you guys can see a little bit better what I'm actively working on. So I'm going to show you a couple of tips that I learned. I'll show you a couple of tips that I lost volume when you turned your head earlier. Oh, okay. Anywho, I'm going to show you a couple of tips that I learned in the class that I took with Verushka. I already knew how to FPP before I went into the class, but there were some tips that I picked up that make my game a little bit more efficient. And so one of the things that I learned, or she taught us, is for our color chart, because sometimes the colors don't always match up exactly with what is printed out. She snips off a bit of the selvage and writes the number of the fabric or the letter, whatever your code is, on the piece of fabric, and then lines it up and just baste stitches it directly to the paper. That way you can match up the fabric to a piece of the fabric rather than the printed out color. I had never done that before. I mean, I do still leave my labels on the fabric, which I have my pile of over here. However, that was a really good tip, so I liked that. And so I'm using this and this piece, both of them are here, to help me kind of stay organized. And so this is helping me pick out the fabrics, and this is helping me understand what bits I'm working on. So if we're looking at this, I have already pieced this piece right here. This piece right here. I have pieced W, section W. I have pieced Z and A together, and now I am building out X, and right here is AB. So once I put these two together, then I'll be able to make this whole bottom row, and I feel like this is going to come together really quickly. There's a lot of detail in this, but it's not so much, it's not tons of little parts. It's lots of decent, I mean, there are a few small bits, but it's mostly decent sized pieces that are going to come together pretty quickly. All right, so we're going to need fabric 11, and we're also going to need number 7. So I'm going to go into my pile. I'm going to pull out some of my scraps of number 7, and we're just going to start stitching this together. So we're going to start at number 1, which is my fabric 11. And I'm just going to line up my fabric so that it covers behind that section that I want the fabric to be under. And then I'm going to take my add a quarter ruler. I'm going to crease the fabric right on top of the line between section 1 and section 2. And then I like to come in and trim off 1/4 inch away from that fold, just so I have something to line my fabric up to. I'll pick it up, and then I'm going to pick up a piece of this red, and I'm going to line it up so that the cut raw edges are lined up next to each other. And I'm going to make sure that when I fold this piece over, this section, if I hold it up to a light source or a light box, the fabric that I'm adding right sides together covers that whole section plus at least 1/4 inch around. You would, if you're new to FPP, you want that piece to be bigger and trim it down than to worry about it being exactly perfect and saving fabric. Ian, will you let the chat know if you're planning to still do your live on Sunday, or if you think you're going to take the day off to rest and get better? I told them I wouldn't be surprised if you needed the day to recover. But I also told them that you'd play it by ear and see how you're feeling on Sunday. Hey, Josh. All right, so there is the one section that goes on the other side of the road. This bit goes, wait, hold on. Yeah, okay, it goes this way. No, it goes this way. There we go, because it's mirror image. So this is what, oh my gosh, you can see the road pop out, right? Love it. Sounds good, Ian, sounds good. Now I'm going to crease on that line. And I'm going to bring in that piece of red and line it up underneath here. Go to the sewing machine and stitch it down. And then I don't have to do this step. This is just extra, but I do like to trim my seam allowances. I really didn't need to do that because it wasn't going to do anything to add to the project, but it's just a muscle memory thing at this point. And then I'll press that down with a hot dry iron. Becca, what does the F stand for in FPP? I know EPP is English paper piecing. F in FPP stands for foundation paper piecing. Dawn, on Thursday mail open, she seemed tired but not sick. Yes, I was tired. I'm still tired. I haven't had any symptoms yet, and I'm hoping that I steer clear of the virus, but you know, I'm not completely out of the window yet. So if I can get through the next week with no symptoms, then I will assume that I have missed it. But I would not be surprised if I get a visitor over the course of the weekend, because all I got to do is look at a positive test and I seem to have caught it. The road unit is incredible, isn't it? Jess says, it's incredible. Love the effect. I do too. I am going to be so happy with this one. My only sad thing is that this really was a kit. So, I mean, I brought nothing other than just assembling according to the instructions and the color code that Farushka gave us. But I still am going to love it, and I can't wait to have it done. All right, and so that's going to go up over here. But before we do, we need to join the pieces. X, as we can see on this piece of paper, goes on the bottom, AB goes on the top, so I'm going to join them together. These are extra bubbles that I will put aside. And so when I join these together, what I'm going to do is grab a couple of pins and a couple of clips. I'm going to bring a pin over and I'm going to poke it right through this point where those lines meet, right at the very top of that point. And then I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to join it to the piece that it's supposed to be joined to. And I'm going to try to line up that pin with the point on the other side. And then I'm going to go down to this other corner down here. And I'm going to do the same thing. Poke the pin through the point on one side. And if it doesn't perfectly come through with the point on the other side, I'm going to just play with it a little bit until I get it in there where I want it to be. There we go. Oh, and the pin came out of the other side, so let's just repin that. Oh, that's not right. My raw edges were not lined up. There we go. That's nice. Now I'm going to leave those pins straight, hanging straight down, and I'm just going to put a clip on either side. Now, if I wanted to, I could take this to my sewing machine, and with a very large basting stitch, I could stitch right on that line and then open it up to see if it lines up the way I want it to. Since there's no seams really nesting here, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to stitch on the line and trust that everything will line up okay. I'm doing this with a smaller stitch length than I normally would. I don't know what it equates to on a modern machine, but on my 301, it is about 15 to 17 stitches per inch. And then I'll open it up. Get rid of the threads. Get rid of the threads! And just make sure that everything looks like it lines up okay, and it sure seems like it does. So once I'm comfortable with how it looks, I'm going to rip the paper out of the seam only, just to get it a little bit of that bulk gone away. Now, I know some people, oops, I ripped off that little tiny piece. I know some people tend to press the seams open when they're joining their sections. I did the same thing for a while too, but actually one of the tips that Verushka gave us is to let the fabric press wherever it wants to go, even if it means that one side of the seam goes up and the other side goes down. Actually pressing this open makes the project not as stable. There's nothing there to protect your seam. And so she doesn't press her seams open unless she absolutely needs to. But if she has an area where there's a lot of bulk, she was talking about how she will allow that part of that seam to go in one direction and the other part of the seam to go in the other direction, to twist in the back end, because having a twisted seam is sometimes easier than having a ton of bulk. And she also talks about how she kind of snipped out some of the bulk in her seams. And if she has been good enough to win ribbons for her piecing, then we're just going to listen to her. She might be onto something. All right, so there we go. Now we're going to line up these pieces and put them together, and that's going to make my, oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that, you guys. You guys. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Okay, so we're going to line up this side first, because that's the side that I picked up. Doesn't matter which one you do. And it's going to be the same thing that I did before. Jonathan says, hey, Becca, I got my quilt shop to start stocking the Acorn Easy Press pen because of your FPP tips. Oh, thank you. I actually have my pen over there somewhere, and I should probably pull it out to use it, but I'm just using a hot dry iron and a clapper today. I'm having a hard time getting it right through the tip. There we go. So that's the one, and then I'm going to line up the other corner down here. Her Dignity quilt is absolutely amazing, isn't it, Susan? It's absolutely gorgeous. I am going to, by the way, you guys, I am going to be releasing a video sometime probably early next week. I want to say Monday or Tuesday, of all of my favorite quilts that were on display at QuiltCon. So you'll want to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. You have the bell turned on for notifications so that when that video comes out, you'll be able to see the quilts that I fell in love with. And spoiler alert, I didn't see every quilt. I was actually looking at some of the pictures that Ian posted on social media, and then I was looking at I was watching his video, and I watched a bit of Max. She walked through and did every single quilt. And there were quilts that I didn't see, even despite prioritizing my time looking at all of the quilts this year. So definitely not going to show you every quilt. I'm just going to show you the ones that I liked, and I'll talk about why I like them, and I'll give you the artist story that was posted next to the quilt, just like I've done in other videos. Good night, Ian. The Evolution of Man quilt. Susan really liked that one. That was a good quilt. All right, so look at that. Oh my gosh. Love it. One of the other tips that I've learned when doing FPP, I don't know if you've had this problem, I certainly do. When you're putting your pieces together, do you know how sometimes you can see the stitches in your piecing? I find a lot of times that's caused from two different issues. The first one is if you're using a 50 weight thread instead of something like a Deco Bob or a thinner thread, it can show through. Obviously, if you're using a color that doesn't coordinate with the fabric, you're going to see it too. But more often than not, it feels like to me, in my experience, it's because there's stress that's being put on that seam. And so I can get through piecing an entire section and doing a really good job with it and not seeing any of the stitches from the front at all. But the second I press a seam open, it's done. It's done. And so when I started pressing the sections to one side and not pushing it over so hard and just gently laying it down and just putting the iron on top of it, those threads that are holding that seam together stopped popping through so much. Yes. Somebody is asking about the paper that's on the back of the quilt. I'm only pulling off the paper that's in the seam just to remove some of that bulk. I am leaving the paper that is on the back of this here until the entire project is put together. If I end up losing a small piece or two, it's not really that big of a deal. But the paper is going to keep the fabric stabilized, which is really helpful because some of these edges are bias edges. And so if I can keep them attached to the paper until the entire project is done and I'm ready to stabilize everything with a stay stitch around the outside, that's going to help keep my block and my pieces nice and square. Somebody's asking, what is the name of this project? This is part of the Capturing Memories series from Pride and Joy Quilting. This installment is called Road Trip. And I've just dropped a link in the chat for you to take a peek at the kit. You can also just get the pattern if you'd like. The pattern launched with QuiltCon this year, so you couldn't get it until QuiltCon opened. Have you wound Deco Bob in the 301 bobbin? Mine likes it. I have not yet, but it is on the list of things to try, Bill. I am just using the 50 weight because that is what's in the bobbin, and this is the first time I've sat down to sew all week, so I'm not trying to lose any time sewing to replace the bobbin when I already have a wound bobbin. Savannah says, I only recently learned how to FPP, and it is honestly one of my favorite ways to piece now. It's a little addicting. Not that it matters, but are the pieces on each side of the road opposite? So I will pull out what the actual quilt looks like so you can see the finished quilt without all the letters and stuff on it. This is what it will look like. So it's not completely a mirror image. The red band, orange band is, but the mountains are scattered a bit differently. is that newsprint. Nope, it's just regular old copy paper, which works just fine for FPP. You don't have to have the big fancy paper to do this. Just print it off on whatever that you have in your printer. Works just fine. Okay, I'm just going to test this to make sure that my raw edges line up the way I want them to. It looks like they do. So now I'm going to delicately pull the paper off of just the seam. And if you're having a hard time pulling that out, you can always just get the paper wet. I think Carolina Moore, I think it was her, had a notion. It's basically like a water paintbrush that you can use to draw a line of water on the paper. It makes the paper dissolve and it comes off a bit easier. But you could also do the same thing with any sort of paintbrush or craft brush from Michael's or Joann's or any hobby store. So I can see here I've got some of those stitches exposed. So I'm just going to make sure that when I fold this over, I'm kind of pushing it back on top of itself so that it's not pulling so taut against that seam. And then once I've got it laid and the stitches are a bit more hidden, I'm going to put a hot dry iron on it to set the memory of that fabric. And then I'll come back on it with a clapper to get that to cool in a flat position. I see that the finished picture is great. I see that the finished picture is great. That's what she was saying. Sounds like the Clover pen. I think there's a couple of different brands of that pen out there. All right, so here is my road. Look at that. And then this is the other piece that I have. Isn't that cute? So that's going to kind of go up over here a bit. Do you see how this is going to come together? All right, so those 2 units are done. I'm going to set them aside. We're going to work on the next unit. So I think I'm going to work on this AC piece. I've got all of my FPP templates up here. And so I'm just going to hunt for, ooh, AC is big. I want to do AC and AE because that's the next row up from where I'm at. So AC, and I'm going to look for the AE segment. Nope, there it is. So I'm going to put fabric on those papers. I want you to show off the zebra, Bill said. Okay. Where is the zebra? You're going to make me get up and... Oh, here, there it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. Hold on. I like how he types everything in caps. He wants me to show the zebra. Is it zebra or zebra? You tell me. Let me make sure I have it facing the right way. I do not. Okay, here we go. That is my zebra. I made this in a 3-hour class with Leo Ransom at QuiltCon. And you can't tell, but maybe if I come in a bit closer, this black fabric is speckled. It looks like paint has been splattered. You've got some pink and purple right here. You've got some yellow and green down here. It's a little hard to see this far away, but maybe if I come closer there, now you can start to see some of that color come out. But you'll also notice on that white fabric where the zebra is, it's got black splatter, which just gives the fabric a bit of dimension. Isn't that pretty? I love it. I have to figure out how I'm going to piece it. I'm sorry. I guess piece it is the right word. All of this is fused together with some heat and bond light. So it's just fusible holding it together. And I'm going to have to go in and stitch down all of these bits to hold the black fabric onto it. And so if you're looking, the white fabric is underneath and then the black fabric is on top. And so I need to hold that black fabric into place before I decide how to quilt it. And I'm not even sure how to quilt it yet. I was thinking, like, this is going to be a hard one to quilt. unless I take it to the machine and do something a little different. And the reason is because if I quilt it with a black thread, that black thread is going to blend in beautifully with this background, but it's going to pop really bad on that white. So if I do matchstick quilting, it's going to look a bit of a mess. If I do white thread, then I'm going to have the same issue, except it's going to pop in the background and then it's going to blend in on the zebra. And so it's going to make the stripes look a little off. I'm wondering if I could use like a dove gray or something to do the quilting, but then it's going to pop. I think the gray or the silver is still going to pop against the black and not against the white as much. So that could cause an issue. So what I'm thinking I might do is some hand-guided quilting. I might load some black thread and just kind of outline each of these areas with some black thread, and then maybe come in with some white thread and do some really fancy just fills in the white areas where it's just really completely empty. So, but that's something I'm going to have to do on the long arm. And even though this is a small project, I think it's going to take me forever to do. So I'm going to have to gain some courage with this one, and it's going to take me a while. Rainbow thread, maybe? Maybe. Dove gray in the center, black for the edges, Carrie Quilt says. Maybe. I don't know that I want the white, but I do like the idea of like a cream or a gray, probably a gray. Oh, a mono thread, monofilament. That's a great idea. Jean's saying a monofilament would work. I want the thread to be invisible. And one of the other things that Verushka had talked about is she pieces all of her quilt tops with Daco Bob, which is an 80 weight thread, really super thin. But she also uses that for quilting. And I'm wondering if I could use the same thing if I want those stitches to disappear. I'll have to look into the monofill, although I don't want to test it on this one. I would want to test running that through the machine on a piece of scrap fabric or a scrap quilt just to see how it holds up. And if it does what I think it will, then maybe I'll take it to the zebra. Oh, hey, Scotty. He says, I used to be a federal employee years ago in Region 2, NYC. Thank you for your service. All right, let's get going. I'm going to work on this one first because it's a bit smaller. And I'm just going to pull off piles of the fabric that I need and set them in a stack in the order that I'm going to pull them. So all of these are AE. I'm going to start with number 1 and work my way up to number 11 and look at the fabrics that we're pulling. So we're pulling fabric number 3. So I'm going to go into my pile. I'm going to get fabric number 3 out, which is this purple. And then I'm just going to cut off, well, actually, I already have scraps. So I will just use this scrap piece. And then 4, looks like I'm going to use fabric number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have I have some scraps. This might be enough. So I'm just going to keep that. And then it looks like fabric 6 is the next one. And I have no scraps of fabric number 6. So I'm going to do something that y'all are going to freak out about. I'm going to snip from this width of fabric and I'm going to rip it off. And that helps me keep an eye on where my grain line is, so that if I don't want bias when I'm piecing, which really right now it doesn't matter, but it helps make it a bit easier so I don't have to wobble around with all of the length for that width of fabric. All right, so, and this is where having the card comes in handy, because since I have the cuts of fabric, I can easily match this up and be like, oh yeah, that's number 8, right? And this was number 4, and we already know this was number 3. Yep, 3, okay. So I'm going to start piecing. I'm probably going to need more of fabric number 4 in a bit, but I'm going to go ahead and piece this down. 4 is this darker one. Yeah, I don't mean to give away all of Verushka's secrets, but I will tell you this is what I'm doing right now is exactly what she taught us to do in the class, and it's the tips and tricks that she has done herself when piecing her quilts together. She said that when she's piecing her quilts, she likes to work with this the full width of the fabric. And so she will starch her fabric and then she will hang it up in her studio. And it's always like with the selvage end clipped up, so it's selvage to selvage running down. And when she needs a bit of that fabric, she'll go over to it and grab a section that's going to be big enough for her to work with, make a little snip into the width of fabric and just rip it off. And because you can see how the fabric is frayed along the edge a bit, you can tell what was running parallel to those selvages. So it's I've been doing it. I've been doing it. Anne said, ouch! Carrie says, ripping is also fast and fun. It is, right? All right. Let's go ahead and flip this over gently. I will press it down with my finger, and then I'll take it to the iron. And now I'm just going to cut off here, and I'm going to put this behind AE3. But before we do, I need to get 1/4 of an inch behind this line. So I'm going to use my tapered edge on my add 1/4 plus ruler to fold this over, crease that down, butt up the edge of the ruler with the fold on the paper, and sail through all the layers. I'll set that aside. And now I'm going to add this purple, which is fabric number 3, next to it, just like this. And Debbie says, my husband hates that sound. I used to do a lot of ripping if I was mad at him, and it accomplished 2 things at once. I've been with friends who have gone to quilt shops and they didn't know that the quilt shop was going to rip their yardage when they went to the cutting counter. Most, like some places, they'll ask you if you're okay with it being ripped before they just rip, but some of them, they're just like, nope, this is just what we do. And they just get into the groove and rip the fabric. They just assume it's okay. And the face that these folks have when their yardage gets cut or ripped is kind of priceless. They're like, oh! All right, I will fold that over, crease it down, and then press it with my iron. Some folks in the chat are saying that they can't cope with the noise of fabric being ripped. Don't worry, I'll give you a heads up next time I do it, okay? You can just press the mute button for a second until you see it's not, the ripping is done. All right, I'm going to fold on this crease right here. Give myself an extra 1/4 inch of the fabric. Ah! It helps if you make the noise effects. It really does. And then I'm going to pull my 4, which is that darker yellow, the amber color, and I'm going to line up my raw edges here. And I will stitch through. Actually, I want it to be abundantly covered. I don't know if I told you guys this story, but I'm going to tell you again. So if you've already heard it, bear with me. When I signed up for QuiltCon, and we decided that we were going to be staying at an Airbnb with Russ and Bill and Tiffany and Ian, when all of us were going to be staying at this Airbnb, I started thinking about, okay, well, I know I want a car because whenever I go out of town, I like having a car so I can get out and do whatever I want to do. So I knew I wanted a car. I was going to get a rental car, but I started thinking about what type of rental car do I really need? Well, Tiffany's going to have her car because she's going to drive up from Lake Havasu. And Bill was talking about renting a car as well. So I was like, well, I don't need to get like a big SUV or minivan or anything. I just need a little car that'll get me around town. It doesn't need to fit any more than just a couple of people in it. So that's all I'm going to go for. So I went onto the rental cars website and I signed up I reserved a car in the cheapest price. It was like $400 after fees and everything for the entire week, was a mystery car. If I let them pick out my car, I was going to get the cheapest rate they offered. And I thought, sure, why not? Because quite honestly, it did not matter to me if I had an Explorer or an Escort. I really just did not care. It could have been a 1979 Pinto for all I cared. As long as the car started and it ran and it got me where I needed to go, I was happy. So I just bit the bullet. I was like, okay, fine. They can pick out my car for me. Well, we get in late Wednesday night. The line for the budget rental car was stupid. I think we stood in that line for an hour and a half, and I'm not joking. Even with the fast break service thing that I have on my account that lets me skip the counter, still had to go to the counter. I don't know why. Anywho, I finally get up to the counter, and the guy takes all my information, which really was a little bit of nothing because guess what? I had it all entered anyway. They even had my payment on file. Anyway, he says, so we got you in a Ford Mach-E. And my jaw went, and he looked at me, he was like, do you know what that is? I was like, yeah, I know what that is. You guys, if you don't know what that is, it's the electric Mustang. This car had launch mode. It was great. And of course it was red. So I called Jason. I was like, well, I know what my souvenir from QuiltCon's going to be. He was like, what? And I said, well, they gave me a red Mustang as my rental car. I'm coming back home with a speeding ticket. I did not come home with a speeding ticket. But that launch mode was a little fun. Could you recharge the car? Yes, actually didn't need to. I spent the whole week there and the battery only got to down to 35%, and they charged it for me for free when I dropped it back off. So I didn't have to charge it, but I also didn't need to, but I could have. There was a couple of nights where I pulled it into the garage at the Verbo that we were staying at and plugged it in, but there was something wrong with the adapter that I was using because even though it was plugged in for like 9 or 10 hours, I was only getting like 2 or 3% of the battery. Oh, wow. Adam's car broke down, so he got an upgrade. Wow. Mary said the first car she drove was her friend's Gremlin. They were so cute in their truck listening to country music. Was that Adam? Was he trying to have the American experience? Is that what he was doing? Are you planning on QuiltCon next year? 100%. We are planning to be at QuiltCon, and Mary will be in tow with us next year for the entire thing, which I'm really excited about. It was not the same being at QuiltCon without Mary, but next year she'll be there for the entire time with us. We're unsure if we want to get another Airbnb or Verbo or just get a room or a couple of rooms at the hotel next door to QuiltCon. So jury's still out on that, but we are definitely going to Raleigh. As of right now. It's easier because it's just a drive, right? Like I can just drive down. It's only a 3 or 4 hour drive. Okay, I think I'm done with the purple. So I'm going to put this back in with the number 3. So I have the scraps there all together. And then I still need that in this bit. So we're going to sail off of the edge right here. Shoop. Oh, awesome. Jen says, yay, I'm coming too. I just moved to North Carolina, so I will be nearby. Awesome. It'll be nice to see you there. Just remember, it's in the end of February, but registration and everything signs up or opens up in August. And if you are a Modern Quilt Guild member, you get your show ticket for free. And the dues for the Modern Quilt Guild, as well as the 4-day show pass, they're very equivalent. So just sign up to be a guild member now. That way, when the show opens for registration, you can get into any classes or lectures that you want. You get your discount, and you can get your 4-day show pass right away for free. I'm very delicately pushing this fabric over and then finger pressing it down, and that's helping to keep the stress on those stitches from pulling them too tight so I don't see the thread popping through on my seams. Look at that. It's starting to come together. My favorite part of this is when I trim up the whole piece so you can see those nice clean edges. Okay, so now I'm going to do fabric number 6, which is this one. So I'm going to come up here and get my 1/4 inch of fabric so that I'm creating my seam allowance. Jaja Brownie says, I want to for sure. In QuiltCon next year, I'm loving everyone's videos coming out. I hope you get to make it. Mary said she had a severe case of FOMO while we were all at QuiltCon and she wasn't with us. Well, she'll be retiring at the end of this year, so there will be no more FOMO for her. In fact, I think the next big thing that we're planning is Mary's coming up here for a little bit, for a few weeks in April. So I'll get to see her then. Looking forward to that. Actually, Ian and I were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. It was before QuiltCon. He was like, it's going to be so nice to have Mary back in April. I was like, yeah, it really will. All right, I'm going to need to rip some fabric, guys, so, because I don't, well, maybe I have enough for 4. I think I'm going to have enough to put 4 right there, so I'm not going to rip yet. We'll see. And if it's not, then I can frank and grow it after it's pieced on. Add my 1/4 inch. Lob off the side. And then we'll come in here with this. I'm making sure that my piece is covered. My piece of the paper will be covered by the fabric that I'm attaching. I think it will be, but we'll find out. Ooh, that stitching did not look good. The tension was off. What happened? What happened to the tension? And I have no more scrappity bits. I have no more leaders and enders cut Do I have a piece of scrap down here? I think I do. Here, we'll use this as scraps. It was a little pack of scraps from the Figo booth, so we'll use this. Oh, those are nice big scraps. We'll just cut off a little piece. That's not scraps, that's like yardage, right? Something doesn't sound right. Something's not right. The tension on the bottom is wrong, and usually that means that something's going on up here, which made sense because the spool seemed to be pulling off differently. So I'm just going to re-thread the machine really quick. It wouldn't be a live stream if Ruby didn't require some special attention, right? Could have just slipped out of the tension disc too. Ooh, there's some lint in there. That might have done it. Okay, into the tension disc, up, back in through there, and then into the bar up at the top. Behind that. Oh, that's not doing the thing that it should be doing. Oh, it's because the presser foot was not in the right position. Oh, good night, Ann Daly says, good night, I'll check you later on the replay. My battery is dead. Hope you get that sucker recharged. And I'm guessing you mean your phone battery. While I'm doing all of this, I might check my bobbin to see if it's starting to get low. I have noticed, I've gotten to this stage where I can notice a quality difference in my stitches when my bobbin starts to get low. It just stitches different. Nope, it's not low, but something did happen with the bobbin. Awesome. Day says, no FOMO for me as I went to Raleigh last year and I will be going again in 2026 since I will be in Charleston for the summer or for the winter. Awesome. Oof. Look at all this. Look at all of this. Must have been a while since I've done this. Let's just clean it out really quick. We're going to take one of these little mascara brush things and get all of that. Look at this. All of that out. And I've got a piece of thread kind of just hanging out in here. Let's fix that. Okay. Here it is. Oof. Does anybody else get excited when they see all the dust bunnies come out of their machine? Or is that just me? I'll put a drop of oil in there since it has been a week or so since I've oiled it. And while I'm at it, I might as well oil the other parts of the machine. So I gotta look for there. Okay. And then I'll just do each of the oil holes while I'm at it. There are so many oil holes on this machine. Okay, that should do her. She might have just been thirsty. Yeah, Patty, she says my 500 ASO is funky when the bobbin is low. The bobbin wasn't low, but the bobbin did get a little bit of funk in there, and so that could have been part of it. All right, let's see how how she does on the scrap, leader and ender. Oh, well, you're not into this little thing where you should be. Come on! There. All right, let's see how this works. Still doesn't sound right. Something sounds off. I think I just got a nest. No, I didn't. But yeah, I did. Who wants to come here to watch me troubleshoot a 1951 Singer? Because that's apparently what's happening tonight. Let's just go ahead and try again. That doesn't sound right. Something is off. It was sewing just fine. Okay. We're going to try again. All right, let me try again. Okay, thread's coming out of the bobbin just fine. Okay, now I'm going to put my scrap underneath my presser foot. I'm going to hold my top thread, turn the needle bar towards me to pull up the bobbin. That sounded okay. It didn't make any weird noise. I'm going to hold both threads. I'm going to start sewing. I swear it doesn't sound right, but it is stitching. It's like the top tension is not tight enough. That's what it looks like. I'll just tighten up the top tension and see what happens. Something's up. Something is up. I'm hearing it clank, and it shouldn't be clanking. Oh, that is horrible. Look, I have got, look what I got. All right, we're going to go to the top camera. I'm going to try to give this to you nice. I don't even know if you can see because it's so tiny. Let's see if I can get zoomed in here. 1 second. We're going to zoom way in. So do you see how on the top the stitches are this way? Do you see how on the top the stitches are okay, but on the bottom I have all of these eyelashes? Yeah, I don't know either. So I have rethreaded the top of the machine. I have, let me go back in here. Hold on a second and zoom back out. I have rethreaded the top of the machine. I have definitely rethreaded the bobbin. And so anytime there's a problem with your machine, what's the next thing that you do? You change the needle. So let's change the needle. So I'm just going to unthread the needle that's there. I'm going to undo this little crank that'll take the needle out, and I'm going to stick it inside of my wool mat over here because I have a sharps container that I'll put it in later. Now I'm going to grab a fresh needle. I'm going to put it back in. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I did do a lot of sewing through a lot of bulk and things right before I left. I was going through vinyl and all sorts of stuff, binding. Yeah, so maybe the needle does need to be replaced. Let's hope this does it. It wasn't sounding right. What do you guys think? Do you think it'll fix it? There's my scrap. Moment of truth. Put it underneath. Pull the bottom one up to the top. Hold both threads. Nope, that still doesn't sound right. And it still doesn't look right. Okay, so we've replaced the bobbin. We've rethreaded the top. Do we think the bobbin could be the issue? What do you guys think? Rethread the top again. I think that's a good idea. Let's try it. Let's try rethreading the top one more time. Got a fresh needle in there. Usually it's the opposite. So if you're seeing bad stitches on the bottom, it usually means that there's an issue on the top. And I feel like this isn't pulling the thread smoothly off of the spool the way it normally does. So it might just not be in the tension disc the right way. So we're going to rethread the entire top. Make sure the thread is laying in the path correctly. Okay, and then through the eye of the needle, make sure it's not twisted. It's not. Okay, good. See, let this just be a lesson for y'all that it doesn't always go smoothly for all of us. All right, we're going to pull the bobbin thread up. Is my phone over there? Oh, it's in my pocket. I was like, I heard Siri starting to talk. No, I don't want you to repeat. Oh, that is a ton. Okay. That sounds a bit better. Let's try another row of stitches. It must have not been in the tension disc the right way. I'm going to throw this mess away. And I'm going to take another bit of scrap. That sounds good. Yep, that sounds a lot better. The tension at the start was still giving me eyelashes though on the bottom. Let's see if it's worked itself out. Not really. Something's going on. It's the first few stitches have an eyelash, but then the rest of them are all perfect. Somebody's saying there could be dust in your bobbin case. Well, there is definitely dust down there, but maybe it's up at the top. So let's just go ahead and try to clean out the bobbin case. Listen, the rest of this live stream might just be getting the stitches to look good again. Who knows? I'm going to use my handy dandy barrette as my screwdriver. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Bet you $10 there's a ton in there. This machine does not like it when lint gets built up. And when I opened up the bobbin, there was a ton of lint down below. So goodness knows how long it's been since I've done this. Never know what you're going to get on a live stream, right? Okay, now I'm going to come in here, lift this plate off. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you see it right there? That was a lot. Let's clean her out. That'll definitely cause issues with my stitching. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. Come on. Come to mama. Oh, yeah. Oh, so satisfying. And that's just what was on the top. There's some down here caked on top of the bobbin. And there's some over here. Oop, little thread bunny ran away. Oh, this is great. Let's just go ahead and pull the bobbin out of there and make sure I can get that really nice and clean. Look, there's even... All right. That was a lot of lint, wasn't it? And this is in addition to the lint that I thought I cleaned out from the top and the bottom of the bobbin before. So yeah, I think that was probably my issue. Let me get my thread fixed on the needle here. Okay, we're going to put the stitch plate back on. Do you guys like how I used barrettes as my screwdriver? Like a teenager, popping a zit. Poor Ruby had a stomach ache. I know. See? I keep telling her, you can just eat one more burger. She's like, no, you know what? I can't. Stop feeding me junk. Okay. Press her foot back on, and we should, knock on wood, be back in business. Who thinks that we solved the problem this time? I mean, we got oil, we've got rethreaded top, rethreaded bobbin, and no dust. So let's see what happens with this middle. Pull the bobbin thread up. Yeah, now we're cooking with Crisco. But I got my thread tangled around my presser foot. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Wait, is it nice? I don't know. Here, I might be getting it confused. We're going to use up this whole bit of scrap on this one issue. Okay, I'm going to turn my stitch length back down to something that I can actually see so I can see the quality of the stitch. Or up to. Oh, that looks good from the top anyway. It sounds right. Isn't it amazing how once you've been sewing on a machine for a while, you know when it sounds off? I still have some eyelashes. Let me just try that and see what happens. I just adjusted the tension a little bit. It's loose on the bottom, but perfect on the top. Okay, it's all the way down to a 0. Let's see what happens. Now it looks loose on the top and perfect on the bottom. So let's tighten it up a bit. Now it looks loose on the top, still perfect on the bottom. Let's tighten it up a little bit more. A little bit more defined on the top. Looks good on the bottom. So we're just going to go a hair over. That looks a lot better. Let's try one more time. Oh yeah, there we go. And that sounds good too. Perfect. Okay. Woo! And now we're done, because that was fun. So what had happened, apparently, I needed a new needle. Obviously had to clean out the lint, give it a bit of oil, and adjust the tension. But now we're cooking with Crisco again. And I can save that one. Sounds much better too. It does, right? And I'm going to go through and restitch this. Look, the seam was just horrible. So I'm just gonna, that's like some of the areas, I don't even think the thread connected on this seam. So I would rather take the minute or so to unsew and re-sew this and have the integrity of my project be intact than to take a shortcut and find out that the project starts falling apart at that one seam. So it calls for a good stiff drink to celebrate. Well, the only thing I have in here is water, so. Okay. See if we can get through this seam now. Oh yeah, turn my stitch length back up, or down, make it smaller. Are you happy now? I would be. You look like you're happier. Thank you. I'm surprised the iron is still on. Oh, goodness. Okay. And that does cover that whole section. Awesome. Now I need number 6, which is this lighter one. No colored drinks in the sewing room after carpet gate. That's right. Only water. Only water. Wrapped around the foot. There we go. I don't like that stitching. I don't like the stitching. It's doing it again, and maybe I didn't pull the threads completely out to the side the right way, but the tension doesn't look right, and we're just going to fix that. I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to sew this seam and then I'm just going to be done, because obviously I think Ruby needs to be fully cleaned. And it's been a while since I've done that. So I'm going to take her apart tomorrow, give her a good bit of oil, good bit of grease, remove any lint that might be hanging. See, that one looked fine. She needs to be cleaned. I don't know. And maybe she just is protesting. That's fine. I protest too. That looks better though. I'm just going to press the seam and then I'm going to call it done because I do not have to sit here and take this from you. I don't have to take it from her. So, did I get the project finished? Nope. But I will give Ruby a good spa tomorrow. She's definitely in need of it. I'll finish cleaning up the rest of my room because if she gets to be clean, then maybe my sewing room can get clean too. And then I'll finish the project. I honestly don't think it'll take that much longer to put together. I'm so close. I've got about half of the big Polaroid done and I have this wedge over here done. And so then after that, it's just gonna be putting these big pieces around the outside. So I feel like I should be able to get it pieced this weekend and maybe even loaded on the long arm and quilted. That would be something. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Susan says maybe Ruby is just jealous because she didn't get to go to QuiltCon. Maybe, and maybe she'll go with me next year. Would you like that? Yeah. It was actually funny because when I was packing up to leave, I was packing Tuesday evening after work and Jason came in. He's like, well, if you get all your stuff together, I'll go load up the car for you tomorrow morning because I wasn't leaving until the afternoon after work. And I said, well, I only have the 2 suitcases. And he said, well, you're not taking your sewing machine? I was like, no, babe, I'm flying. I'm going to Phoenix. He didn't even know where I was going. He thought I was driving somewhere. So there was no way I was taking this on the sewing machine. But next year, Raleigh is within driving distance. And so maybe I can take her with me and do a little bit of stitching on in my downtime that I don't really seem to have at QuiltCon. But yeah, anywho, thank you guys for hanging out with me and putting up with the tension, the needle, the dirty machine, all of it. I'll see you guys all next week. Don't forget, a couple of announcements for you. Tomorrow, my newsletter comes out, Snippets. It'll be on the blog. And if you are signed up for Snippets or a VIP member on my website, you will get a copy of that in your inbox. Number 2, the block of the month that I'm doing, block number 3, will drop next Saturday. I am still waiting for my fabric from Cotton Cuts, and I'm hoping that it'll be here this weekend. If it doesn't come by early next week, we may have to push block number 3 by a few days, maybe Sunday instead of Saturday, but it's coming. I'm working on having the pattern written and ready to go so that you guys will at least have the PDF available for you next week. It'll hit on my website on Thursday. The video might just be delayed depending on when I get my fabric from Cotton Cuts. And number 3, the video that I'm going to have out for you early next week will be a recap of all of my favorite quilts from QuiltCon. So you'll want to make sure to check that out. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys all next week. Bye!